Alrighty guys, Kshatri-la's just got a bunch of cards announced. If you guys don't remember what these guys are, they're coming out in Photon Hypernova with more support, but basically they were all about basically taking up all of these zones, so stealing all of your opponent's monster zones or all of their spell and trap zones to completely lock down your opponent. Now, even if you pulled it off, the deck was kind of underwhelming. If you guys haven't seen how they played, I'll link a video down below, but the Kshatri-la's had a very interesting playstyle, but it was mostly just like, make this card install and then lock your opponent out. Realistically, it's very difficult to actually do, and even if you do it, well, it was still relatively underwhelming in terms of its performance. But let's go ahead and check out the new cards to see if it's going to make them any better with this support. So anyways, first off we have the Kshatri-la Rise Heart. So it's a level 4 Fire Warrior effect monster with 1500 attack, 2100 defense points, and it says you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first effect is if you control a Kshatri-la monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters with extra for the rest of this turn, except for Xyz monsters. The second part is during your main phase. If this card was normal or special summoned during this turn, you can banish one Kshatri-la card from your deck, except for Kshatri-la Rise Heart. Banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck face down, and if you do, this card's level becomes 7. So the whole goal, again, was basically to go for the Shangri-La, which is like their OG boss monster, although we may have a new boss monster here. So at least it does become level 7, because I'm just going to say, like, what's the point of this card if it's supposed to be for Xyz? But we have a new Xyz as well for the archetype. But yeah, I guess you're supposed to, like, banish your opponent's cards. Maybe, like, locking zones would have been better. But let's see what else we got. Oh, the Scareclaw are mixing in with the Kshatri-las now. Okay, that's interesting. We have a level 7 Earth Psychic effect monster with 0 attack, 2600 defense points. And it says you can only use this card's name at first effect once per turn. The first effect is during the main phase. As a quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you do, banish one Kshatri-la or one Scareclaw card from your hand or graveyard. The second effect is it can attack while in face-up defense position. If it does, apply its defense as attack during damage calculation. The third effect is negate the effects of any opponent's monster that battles a Kshatri-la or Scareclaw monster you control until the end of the turn. Very mediocre effect. The whole like total defense Shogun, like with like what is it? Super heavy samurai, was a Benkei. Like these effects are just not relevant in 2022, right? So it's not looking too good yet. Oh wait, we got Tiara Elements, new Tiara Elements confirmed over here, but they're mixing with the Kshatri-la as well. Level 7 Water Psychic effect monster with 2300 attack, 1200 defense points, and it says you can only use this card's name first, second, and third effects once per turn each. The first part of the effect is during the main phase. As a quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, banish one Kshatri-la or Tiara Elements card from your hand or graveyard. The second effect is if this card is normal or special summon, you can just send the top 3 cards of either deck to the graveyard. Okay, so this has some synergy with its own archetype. Third effect is if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So filling up your graveyard with extra material is not like that bad, but again, I wouldn't say this makes the deck from where it was to like S tier, but here it may change with their new boss monster. It's a rank 7 Dark Machine Xyz effect monster, which is named Kshatri-la Rise Heart. So 3000 attack and 3000 defense points. Okay, kind of respectable. Does require 3 level 7 monsters, but you can also Xyz summon Kshatri-la Rise Heart once per turn. During a turn, the effects of a Kshatri-la, Shangri-La are activated using a Kshatri-la monster you control as material. Okay, so the first part is cards sent to the graveyard are banished instead. That's actually a pretty decent effect. I'm wondering if other archetypes will try to splash this in. Just basically a Dark Law, and at the end of the day, decent effect. The second part of the effect is once per chain, each time a card is banished, attach one banished card to this card as material. Okay. The third effect is once per as a quick effect, you can attach 3 materials from this card to target one card in the field and banish that card face down. Now that is actually a pretty good effect, considering, yeah, you could maybe, if you do run this in, you know, maybe a splashed archetype, being able to have that, like, it's basically a disruption, and on top of that, it banishes it face down. That's as good as it really gets with YuGiOh. It's either that or putting it back into the deck probably gets you the most value. Now, unfortunately, because its effect is only once per turn, which if it was once per chain, this card would then be on the S tier. Oh my gosh, super hyped up, and could be competitively like viable. But because it's a once per turn, and also this effect is a once per chain, that could be a little bit mediocre, but nonetheless, it has an interesting card effect at the end of the day. Let's check out their other support though, because it's not done yet. Next up, we have the Kshatri-la Overwrap, which is a quick play spell card that says you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. The first part is you get to target one monster on the field and banish one monster with 1500 attack and 2100 defense from your hand, graveyard, or the field the target monster gains 1500 attack. Okay. The second part is, well, it says, oh no, it has to be from the hand or graveyard. Okay, I was hoping you could banish, like if your opponent had one that happened to meet the target requirements, you could banish that. That would have been kind of cool. Anyways, second part of the effect is, if this card is banished and you control a Kshatri-la monster, you target one effect monster your opponent controls to negate that monster's effects until the end of the turn. Okay, interesting effect. If you somehow like banish it during like, you know, your opponent's turn, that could be maybe usable in some sort of way. But other than that, it's just like a stat boost at the end of the effect. Let's check out the other card though. We have Kanji, the sixth world, the sixth heaven of desire, which is a normal spell card that says you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. The first part says you can target one Kshatri-la monster you control to special summon one Kshatri-la monster with a different attribute from your deck in defense position, but you cannot special summon monsters from the extract for the rest of the turn except for seized monsters. Okay, pretty decent effect. The second part says if this card is banished, you get to target one of your banished Kshatri-la cards except for Kshatri-la Papayas and add that card to the hand. What? It's like a complete different. At the top of my head, I gotta look this card up. What is this card? I've never heard of this card at all. Maybe it's a translation. Maybe it's supposed to be like this card. Sometimes with translations, is this also like a translation thing where like it meant to say my guess is it's specifically targeting this card because I don't even know what the papayas are. Okay, next up though, because we're not done yet, we have Prime Planet Periosos. Okay, so it's a field spell card that says you can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. You can only use this card's name third effect once per turn. All right, so the first part of the effect is when this card is activated, you get to add one Kshatri-la monster from your deck to your hand. The second part is monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for each different attribute among monsters on the field. The third part of the effect is if a Kshatri-la Shangri-La you control activates effect, you can target one card on the field and destroy it. Okay, now we're actually looking at something very good because now we have a disruption. Because again, the whole game plan was make this card, then all it would do is, what is it, each time an opponent's card is banished face down, you could choose an unused zone, and then you could basically get rid of it. But now we have some potential with this ability to just target a card in the field, destroy it, and then maybe like lock out another zone. It still revolves around getting other stuff banished, but you know, I still think that it is potentially pretty decent because this is the field spell, and it already activates itself and gets a free card, and then you get another free card. Now we're looking at a little bit better for like the deck to become meta. Next up, we have Kanji Unleashed Primitive Planet, which is a continuous spell card that says you can only use the third effect of this card's name once per turn. The first part of the effect is Scareclaw Link monsters and Vista Starfrost you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's effects. The second part is monsters destroyed in battle by your Scareclaw Link monsters and your Vista Starfrost are banished instead of being sent to the graveyard. The next part of the effect is you can banish one Scareclaw Link monster from your field or graveyard and then target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Pretty solid effects considering this is a continuous effect. Now the third effect is only once per turn, so you can't just start banishing and basically was a decode talker and just go for game, right? But nonetheless, still cool thing at the end of the day. Which is interesting that they're supporting this when like the rest of the support is like you can only go for seized monsters. Kind of a really weird mix-up, but I don't know. They want us to play Scareclaw with the Kshatri-las and then also TR elements, but they have like they're kind of counterintuitive because TR elements are fusion monsters, right? So very, very weird, interesting, you know, mix-up. Anyways, we have Trivika Karma, which is a normal trap card that says you can only use one effect of this card's name per turn, only once that turn. The first part of the effect is to target one Vista Starfrost you control and one effect monster your opponent controls. Negate that opponent's monster's effects, and if you do, your monster gains attack equal to the half of that monster's original attack or defense, whichever is higher. The second part is you can banish this card from your graveyard to add one spell/trap from your deck that mentions Vista Starfrost from your deck to your hand, except for Trivika Karma. Next up, we have the, what is this? Kanji reading, Root Purifying Struggle of the Sixth World, which is a normal trap card that says you can only use use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn each. The first part of the effect, if there is a Kshatri-la XYZ monster on the field, make both players banish monsters face down so they control only one monster. Wow, that is actually pretty insane. I wish this effect could be activated from the hand, because then it's actually going to make the deck way better, because the deck, I'll admit, it's not very good going second, because you need it to go first, and you need to get an insane amount of good effects in order for the deck to do anything, really. The second part is if this card is banished, you get to target a Kshatri-la exceeded monster you control to add one Kshatri-la monster attached to it as material to your hand, then you can special summon that monster from your hand. Okay, that is pretty interesting. I really like this effect, though, but the problem is that I guess, like, your opponent might be trying to make some plays. If you already disrupt their plays and then you follow it up with, well, I've only got a Shangri-La on the field, which is, again, what the whole deck wants to do, you're only leaving that one monster on the board, which, I don't know, it could be kind of difficult. But then you could stack XYZ card on top and then have an extra disruption with a brand new extra Exceed monster. So I think the deck is actually getting pretty well-rounded. If the deck gets any more support, I could actually see it being like an okay deck. Would I consider it S tier? Like, you know, it needs to open up so incredibly good for it to go well. And at the end of the day, again, remember, you're just locking down the zones, and unless you unlock all 5 monster zones, it's realistically, like, you need to lock down sometimes, like, 4 in order for it to be, like, good, because sometimes all people need is 2 monsters, and then they just negate your effect, destroy, whatever the case may be, right? So that is something to take into consideration as well. But, I mean, this one, again, has that ability to detach triple, which is basically like you're activating it once. Let's be realistic. Because it's a once per turn anyway, so that's like the unfortunate part. I wish this effect was not a once per turn. If this effect was twice per turn, this could actually be like pretty decent. But unless that's new support, let me know your guys' thoughts down below. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here and don't want to miss out on more new Yu-Gi-Oh cards from the set Photon Hypernova, make sure you guys subscribe with the bell notification on, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.